Sweeping changes coming to the way the Toronto Police Service operates. A newly released report calling for an overhaul of the country's largest municipal police force. The focal point? To put community policing front and center to bridge the growing gap between officers and citizens. The report calls for officers to carry smart mobile devices within the next 2 to 3 years so they have greater access to data and don't have to spend as much time in their stations. Paid duty hops will be restricted to jobs that have a public safety element, so that could mean no more cops at construction sites. Other suggestions, including a hiring freeze until 2019 and cutting the use of paid off-duty officers by 30%. To talk about this and more, Toronto Police Chief Mark Saunders joins me for coffee this morning. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Kevin. How are you?
Fine. You just literally came in 30 seconds ago. Came in here.
Just like through the roof.
Couldn't find a legal parking spot. I don't know, but he found one. I have heard, and you have heard, the term community policing for decades now. How is this different?
Yeah, I mean, Robert Peel's rules have been from the 19th century, so they're important, but it's how you execute, and that's where the difference lies. And so when we look at neighborhood policing, the philosophies are the same, but we're going to have more tools. We're dealing with different issues today than we were 20, 30, 40 years ago. You know, when we deal with cybercrime or identity thefts, things along those lines. But by working with neighborhoods and dealing with problems from a grassroots problem, it does two things. Number one, the officers are more connected and have the ability of using multi-agencies within that neighborhood to help resolve some of the issues. But number two, it builds stronger relationships. And that was what we heard over and over and over again at all the consultations that we did, whether we got it through the internet or whether we got it through the town halls or through consultations. People wanted to know the officers. And so moving in that direction, I think, is healthy.
Already there's been some kickback from the police union. Mike McCormick saying that he doesn't feel his officers were consulted in the making of this report.
Yeah, no, we had opportunities where we did speak to our officers. Don't forget, the task force consists of men and women, civilian and sworn members, for starters. And we had opportunities at some of the consultations. Many officers came and saw and listened and had an understanding of what was going on. We had some one-on-ones with different officers throughout. But when we put that report out, the interim report out in June, that was the vision piece. That was, here's where we're going, folks. So it's not that people didn't have knowledge. It was, here's where we're going, folks. And not only here's where we're going, have your say. Let us know. This is how you can reach us. This is how you can contact us. And so there were many opportunities that were there.
Okay, the biggest problem facing police, not just in Toronto, but in North America today, is their relationship with the community, and that is under attack, and that there's been so many questions raised about that, and so many answers people are trying to come up with. What do we do to change that? Some people say it's a culture within the police force that has to change as well. So what do we do to really bring the community on board and bring the officers closer to the community so that there's that distrust disappears?
There are a lot of moving parts, and it's a very good question. So first and foremost, that cultural piece is something that's important. Trust, transparency, accountability were all factors that were used by the public at all of the consultations that we had. Body-worn cameras, it will assist us, giving us a more objective viewpoint of what the behaviors are whenever we're encountering members of the public. Looking at understanding the importance of service as well as protect, which we protect very well. We can work on the service better. And so we're moving towards that. And we're putting measurables in place. And we're monitoring to see whether or not the cultural change is happening. And the accountability piece, I think, is something that really is important.
It was tough. This report came out just a day after that the video that was shot just down the street here. Yeah,
and that incident is one incident. My men and women on a yearly basis are doing 25,000 of these types of calls, and our use of force is 0.67. That's something to celebrate. But you know what? When we have issues like that, A, we apologize. B, we train if there's further training that needs to be done, and C, we investigate so that we look at whether or not is it a disciplinary issue, is it a training issue, and then moving forward. And this move forward, I think, is an exciting opportunity for all of us.
Yeah. And again, I tell people all the time, you got to get involved. You got to be a part of the solution. If you're not, you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So, you don't have to wait for the public consultations. Get a paper, look at citynews.ca, go over the report yourself. If you don't like something in it, contact the chief, contact your local division, have your say. and there are going to be public consultations coming up.
Oh, the report doesn't stop. It's not, okay, this is it, we're done. It's evergreen. We are going to continuously be looking for ways to continuously modernize. What's the best way that we can police this city, and how do we serve our community the best way that we can?
We've got to change this relationship that some people have with the police and vice versa. We have to work on that.
92% of them, when we look at the polls, 92% like us.
And that's something you don't hear a lot about. Like, you don't hear. We see the videotape of this one arrest, but we don't see the tape of other arrests that go absolutely perfectly elsewhere. So there's two sides to every single story. So.
Absolutely, and this isn't about the Toronto Police Service is broken. This is a chance for us to move towards excellence, and I'm excited about this, and I think the folks will be too once they get an understanding.
Get involved. Make yourself educated about it. Chief, thank you very much for coming in this morning.